You're listening to the Jiu Jitsu Lou podcast, and I'm Lou Temlett. I'm guessing you're having a good day because either you've been on the mats, are considering getting on the mats, or maybe taking your best mate to train. I'm so happy you're here listening or watching this episode. Please don't tap out before the end. When you want to change your life and your outlook, start training jiu-jitsu. I'd like to welcome Colin Howells to my podcast. Good morning, Colin. How are you?
Good morning. I'm very well, thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining me on this show. We're going to hear lots about your story, but I want to reference the competition that you were at yesterday, Grappling Industries. Tell me how that was.
It was great. Yeah. I was just there coaching. We had 4 people enter. And we did pretty well. We came around. What did we get? We had 3 golds.
Wow.
3 silvers and 1 bronze, I think. Yeah, that's what we had.
That's fantastic. I love seeing the energy from competitions. I'm yet to experience one for myself, but just a gathering of like-minded individuals all heading for this kind of same goal, and actually just being there supporting each other. So, Colin, tell us who you are and what you train and what you're involved with.
Okay, yeah. So I have been doing martial arts pretty much since 5 years old. I've done a variety of martial arts. I've been teaching for 20 years down here in Portsmouth. And, I just love it. I mean, I've done, looking back over the years of what I've done, I started with karate. Then I moved on to taekwondo.
Yeah.
A little bit of kickboxing and sort of kung fu along the way as well. Yeah. Then when I sort of got a little bit older and it got a little bit more serious, I started doing jiu-jitsu. And then wrestling, freestyle wrestling, Greco-Roman wrestling. I've been doing jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu I'd consider as my job. Nice. And I'm still learning. I started a few years ago, I started doing judo with one of my black belts, who's a very high level judoka from Budokai sort of era. And I'm proud to say I'm a yellow belt in judo. So
congratulations. Thanks. I will be introducing you as a second degree black belt, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
I won't put yellow belt in judo, but equally, that's a great achievement. I want to take you back to your early years. So you've been coaching for around 20 years this year, but the love for martial arts started way back, and I know we've got something in common here. So tell me more.
Yeah. So basically, the whole thing is down to my dad, really. So when we were younger, we had there was a video shop. I always remember it was called Top Tape. Just around the corner. Yeah. And, so it's going back a few years, but I always remember going in there. And I just remember it being an amazing place. And down the one side of the wall were all the martial arts videos. And my dad used to hire the different Bruce Lee films. So as a young boy, I mean, I probably shouldn't have been watching it at 6 years old.
Yeah, I'm sure the martial arts were for us kids in those days.
Yeah, I think it was. I was very young, 5, 6, and so watching Bruce Lee and just seeing this guy. I think the one that sticks in my head the most, I think, would have been Way of the Dragon, probably. Where is that? I think that's the one where he comes back and his master's been killed. And he goes into the dojo, his Japanese dojo, and just ruins everybody. That one was the one that sticks in my head the most.
Is that because he had so much power to ruin everybody? But anyway.
I think what it was more his demeanor. He had the ability to be, this destructive, but he was very humble. And he was just trying to be, so it was that I kind of admired. Like he had that power, but he didn't use it, sort of thing. Nice. So basically, that's where I started doing karate. Did it for a few years. It was very probably old school karate. So it was a very rigid system.
Yeah.
And it was literally going up and down the hall, sort of kind of just throwing punches. And it didn't really. I found it a bit boring in the end. So then I moved on to taekwondo. So there was a school just around the corner from me, literally on the corner. Absolutely loved it. I was quite introverted, so it really helped me express myself. Like going back to Bruce Lee again, the expression of the physical body, you know, it allowed me to do that, and I loved it. And I did it for, I did it up until the age of sort of 20 years old, from 14. So I competed a lot, and I got to a good international level as well.
Wow.
And got my black belt at sort of 18 years old. So yeah.
That's fantastic. I think one of the things, being a parent myself, having a hobby for the kids to do that where they can kind of continue is really important, because often, you know, the kids take something up and it's not quite their thing because the parents have kind of put them up for it. But actually, you know, on previous podcast episodes, where the passion and enthusiasm has come from the child, it just becomes a lifelong passion and ambition just to continue learning. And I think that's really important, to kind of encourage the kids to kind of continue along that way, something that is in their heart. And you kind of mentioned being an introvert, and I think some of us, some of my listeners very much are, and actually jiu-jitsu gives us a space to be equal and to train and understand without having to be, you know, the brash, bold, you know, all singing, all dancing individual on the high street or in the workplace or, you know, in the nightclub. Actually, we can just be ourselves. And I think that's the real joy of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah,
no, I agree with you totally. It's, and you will see that, if, you know, you look at your teammates, got all sorts of different types of people. And you know, if you're in a good environment, it really works. You know, you can have people that are well, not even their personalities, but just the different jobs that people have. You know, their backgrounds, their day-to-day life, and that's one of the real beautiful things about it. And the other thing that I sort of learned kind of around about brown belt time was that. So the academy that I'm from in Brazil, but that I trained at in Brazil, it's a very, very competition-based academy. Novu now they produced a lot of MMA fighters for the UFC. It's essentially a lightweight gym, but they produced a lot. So the kind of hard training, the full contact training, is one side of jiu-jitsu, but going to my other friend's academy in New York. My coach, Vitor Shaolin, moved from Brazil to New York. So I've always followed him, I've always trained with him, but I had another friend, and his academy was a little bit different. Eduardo's academy at Lotus, it was seemed a lot more inclusive. It was for people a lot older, and you know, a lot not really interested as much in the competition. So get to see sort of two sides of what jiu-jitsu can actually offer. It's really good to see.
That's fantastic. And you talk about professions and jobs. You know, we are all equal on the mats, but I know that you are now a coach for the Royal Navy. So tell me a bit about the Royal Navy team.
Yeah, so the Royal Navy, as most people know, they have a lot of sports within their structure, and they never really had an official Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu team. The Army did and does, and so did the RAF as well. And they've been going a little while, but there was no official team for the Navy, which is crazy because the Navy's huge, you know.
Yes.
So some of my students, I was approached by Matt and Dusty, two of my guys back in the day. Dusty is still down in Portsmouth, still trains with me. They wanted to put this together and have an official team, which I thought was a great idea. So I naturally, you know, they need to have a figurehead. They need to have somebody that can, you know, help as a head coach, be part of the team, and they asked me to do it. So it's a great privilege because,
wow,
I mean, being in Portsmouth, it's very military heavy anyway, especially Navy. And some of my friends have been Marines, and we teach a lot of Navy down here anyway. So yeah, they've brought me in, and they've been going, I think, 2 years now, and it's bigger than ever.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's they're in a capacity now where they're able to get funding, for training trips. We've put on a couple of competitions, one in Plymouth, which did really well.
Nice.
For everybody. And these camps that we do, we're now going to be doing a couple a year. We have people coming down from Scotland. Any of these teams that are in bases around the UK come down, and we have guest instructors. I'm one of them, but we have guest instructors. And yeah, I mean, it's amazing what they've done. They've come a long way.
Wow. So all of this in 2 years, and you're organising. So when you said jiu-jitsu was your job, you're not lying. This is your job.
Yeah, it is my job. I mean, one of the things that I said to the to the Navy when they came down, and I try and put it out there, is like, I work for you. I'm trying to push it forward for you guys. They've put me in this position. It's really important that I do my job. And they're all open to send me a message if they need help with any techniques or anything, because there's a lot goes on in jiu-jitsu. So I'm just there for them. Yeah.
That's amazing. I'm really thrilled and quite heartwarmed to hear, bringing on new teams and encouraging, new sectors whilst it was kind of, in the military, but, having the Royal Navy and you heading up the team is just incredible. So tell me a bit about these seminars and camps, because I've not yet attended any seminars and camps. And whilst the Royal Navy, I'm not in that circle. But tell us a bit more about what's involved and what happens on these seminars for anyone that may not have attended anything. So I think if firstly, if anybody wants any information, they should probably go to the Instagram page. So it's Royal Navy BJJ. Give it a follow, and then they'll get all the information they need from there. But yeah, what we do is we have these camps where it's a week. So if you're part of the Royal Navy team, wherever you are, you can come and attend these camps. It's usually between Monday and the Friday, because most people go off on leave Friday. It's either a half day or Friday's like a day off kind of thing, because people want to go and see their families. So, but what we do is we have the one we had recently. We had just before Christmas. We had gi and no gi. I brought in one of my students, Mike Pring, who's a very high-level judoka. And what we did is, to mix it up a little bit, we added in judo for BJJ. Nice.
Because there is an element of, we'd spend so much time on the ground, don't always have the time to go through the takedowns, as much as you could. And it is a big part of it, because we start standing. So it's really important. But I brought him in, and we had other coaches, the guys from the team taught some good techniques, Matt and Dusty, and we brought in some other people as well, just to give something for whoever was going to be there to take away with them.
Yeah.
And we have a little bit of sparring as well. For me personally, I think you can kind of spar anywhere. You can spar with your team or at home. Yeah. So I don't make it a huge part of my part in the seminar. What I do is I like to do specific sparring based on what we've just done. So we could have been doing half guard sweeps the whole hour, 2 hours, and then we'll drill that live. So you are rolling, but
nice
under specific terms.
I'm sure you've been listening to some of my previous episodes. Half guard and half guard sweeps is where I'm practicing at the moment.
That's great. That's great. It's a great position.
I know.
One thing I'll give you a tip on that.
Yes.
I was always taught that half guard is basically two things. You're trying to do two things. One, you're trying to sweep, or two, you're taking the back.
Yes.
And if you think that way, they both connect to each other anyway. Of course, there are submissions from there. Of course, there are. But I find if you kind of drill that way, and if you think of half guard as those two things, you can be quite successful there.
No, that's a really great tip. Sometimes if I'm really not thinking, I go, oh my gosh, I'm in half guard. I've got a strong half guard, but what do I do next?
Yeah.
So sweep or take the back.
Yeah.
Just need to use the upper body to get off the ground.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's
okay, I'm mentally going through that. I'm on the mats later this afternoon, so we'll be trying that one. This is the Jiu-Jitsu Lou podcast with me, Lou Temlett, coming to you from the UK. When you're ready to pick up some Jiu-Jitsu Lou merch, head over to jiu-jitsulou.com/shop. And if you're looking for a discount code, sign up to my newsletter. Today, I'm having a conversation with Colin Howells. Colin, thank you so much for your time so far. I want to ask some questions because I'm a white belt. I'd love to know advice for white belts.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, it was a little while ago I was a white belt, but I see them every day, and I have them on my mats every day. So I think you've got to kind of looking at the perspective of somebody that's joining a jiu-jitsu gym. I mean, firstly, congratulations, because it's not an easy thing to walk through the door even and get there, so it can be very daunting. It can be, to actually start and begin it. I think once most people start, it's with them forever. It's something you'll never ever forget, and people progress on. Some people don't, but they'll never forget what they did. So I would just say, I mean, it's a great place to be, probably the best place to be, because there is nothing is expected of you. You're there to learn. You're there to enjoy yourself. You've taken up this art form, this sport, and all you have to do is learn. I would say listen to your coach, trust your coach. Yeah. We live in a world where you can Google pretty much anything, or you can go to YouTube and find anything. Yeah. It is very tempting to see something on YouTube, go to the gym and try it, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, I agree. It doesn't work. Half of the move drops out of your mind, and then you never pull it off anyway.
No, I mean, it's great. It's great because, I understand the absolute addiction that white belts have. It's just like, wow, I found my thing. This is my thing, and I get it. But I would say just trust your coach, and your coach should be able to, if you have issues with certain positions, things you don't understand, your coach should be able to help you with them anyway. Things like YouTube are really they're great, but I would say I wouldn't spend loads of time trying to work things out until you're about sort of purple, really, or blue even. Nice. That's when, because that's how you don't forget. There's only so many things you can actually do in jiu-jitsu. Yeah. Unless you've got an extra limb or another head.
Yeah, we've not managed to AI ourselves yet.
No. That's it. So there's only so much you can actually do. So, just trust your coach, but most of all, enjoy yourself. If you're doing something and it's not enjoyable, you need to change it, because I spend a lot, almost every evening and almost every day with my team, and it's a lot of time for me. It's got to be enjoyable for me, and it's got to be enjoyable for the team as well.
Absolutely. Now, I was thinking that you mentioned about asking your coach questions. But what if you're in a position and you don't know what to ask? How would you kind of reset or understand where to go? So when you're asked to ask questions, and sometimes you haven't got any questions, what can kind of help you to, identify some of your areas that you need to work on?
Yeah, so when I do private sessions, I like to work around the athlete. Okay, so if you're not too sure what to ask and you don't know, what you should ask yourself is, what is happening when I'm rolling? Okay, so if I get to a certain position, does this keep happening to me? Do I lose this position? Am I getting somewhere and not knowing what to do from that position? So before you ask the question, ask yourself, what's happening when I'm rolling? Where am I going wrong? Because you'll find the same things will happen time and time again. So you've got to keep looking at yourself.
Yes, I agree. Sorry, I'm smiling and laughing because whenever I roll with blue belts, they're always on an armbar mission.
Okay, right.
So for me, it's keeping elbows tight and, frame and all the rest of it.
So take that as an example then, yeah?
Yeah.
So let's say you keep getting caught by arm bars, or at least you get put in that position.
Yeah.
So someone would probably ask me, how do I escape this arm bar? I keep getting caught in it. I would rewind it all the way back. How did you get put in that position?
Yeah.
So I would say, well, we need to prevent it. Let's not wait until it happens. Let's prevent that from happening. So I would rewind it all the way back to, where did it start from? So let's say you were in someone's guard that they threw up. Okay, so there's probably something wrong with your posture. You're probably putting your arms in the wrong place. Are you trying something in the guard that's maybe you're trying to do a standing guard pass, or you're doing something that's not quite right? So you can answer that, or your coach could answer that by you asking yourself the question, what's going on?
Nice. That's really great advice. And I'm now kind of mentally overcoming the armbar issue. I've just got some very good blue belts that I roll with, and I really have to defend the armbar. But when I was training with a brown belt, just that education, defending the legs rather than going for the grips, because that was my natural thing. When you're a white belt, you want to grip onto something to give yourself some stability, but actually there's a defense from the lower half of the body rather than going in for the collar. So that was my transition. But thank you for the armbar rollback. Let's see what's going on, and putting yourself in that vulnerable position to be got into that place in the first place.
No, of course, but I would apply that to everything. Take it right back to where it started.
Yeah,
it could be a escape. It could be you trying to pass the guard. Well, I get stuck in their heart. I'm trying to pass, but I get caught in the half guard along the way. Okay, what happened just before that? I would apply that to most things.
Nice, fantastic. Thank you for those white belt tips. Now, part of this podcast, as any listeners will remember, is to encourage more women to start training jiu-jitsu. What advice would you have for women wanting to start training or being at the beginning of their careers, specifically women in that place?
That's a good question. For me, I really don't feel that there are enough women doing jiu-jitsu. I feel like, especially the ones that we have in our team, they get so much from it. Confidence, and even if they're not much of a sporty type, it's a sport essentially. So like, you know what it's like, some people have a real problem. I know I do. If I go to the gym on my own, just to lift or whatever, it's boring. I can't do it. I'll probably miss a few reps and go home, but you're doing a sport where there's a community that hopefully most of the time should be a supportive one.
Absolutely.
And you are trying to improve yourself by doing jiu-jitsu, or you should be trying to constantly improve. So it's I think confidence, it can really help with confidence, and just understanding that you can be strong as well. It is daunting. I think once you get over that, for any beginner it's daunting, but I think maybe for a woman as well, it's maybe a little bit more, because unless you're in one of these huge academies where they have like 3 ladies classes a week, you're probably going to go on the mat and it's going to be 95% men, probably. So just try and get over that hurdle, get in there, give it a go. And if everything works out, like in terms of you feel comfortable there, and you know the what's really important is kind of the what's the word? Kind of the attitude of the gym. You know, it's friendly, welcoming. If it's like that, it can be really, really rewarding.
Absolutely. When you kind of say, you know, my upper body has become stronger, and for me on the mats, you know, I love the logical thinking mindset, and actually it gives me an opportunity to increase my brain power and my mindset with jiu-jitsu. It's not always about, you know, kind of sparring and kind of, you know, fighting or whatever. For me, it's that, you know, thinking logically about what position you're in. And like you're saying, you know, the advice for us as white belts, kind of rolling back, where do you start? What are the things you're doing? So it very much becomes a mental game from that perspective. So I really like it from that perspective. That gives me a lot of reward emotionally as well as physically.
Yeah, that's it. And yeah, nothing's expected of you at white belt, or if you're a beginner, you know, a woman starting, nothing's expected of you. You know, it was when I first started, it was very much you had to be an absolute ninja to get your next belt. You know, you had to have competed, you had to have won that competition, and so on. And that kind of reflects what it was back then, which was it was quite a niche thing, jiu-jitsu. I mean, I started, there was only 2 black belts in the country, I think, or 3.
Wow.
And so it was a very niche thing. It was an underground thing, and you had to be this amazing fighter at every belt. You had to be a competitor. You had to, you know, but now it's much more accessible, and it should be that way, because it can be, you know, really rewarding for everyone.
Fantastic. I love everything you've had to say about that. So if anyone is already training or thinking about starting training jiu-jitsu, how would you suggest that they approach the mats or a school? And tell me, you know, how you kind of your values and where you come from.
Okay, yeah. So I would say you need to just listen and learn. Basically, you should be in an environment where you've got a really good amount of experience with the coach and with the higher belts around you. So you're there, as we spoke before, you're there to learn. That's all you're there for. Don't worry about promotions. They will come when they come. I remember being a white belt, and I remember, I want to be a blue belt, you know, and it was this thing. And then when I actually went to Brazil, and I was there for quite a long time, just training jiu-jitsu, I got to a good level doing that amount of training, but I realized it didn't even matter what belt I was, you know, it was, I was doing jiu-jitsu, and that was what was important. Then when I totally forgot about it, that's when I got promoted. So I would say, you know, just don't worry. Enjoy every belt. Enjoy everything.
Yeah.
You know, the time is going to pass anyway, so you're going to progress regardless of that. Yeah. In terms of like the values, something that I carried with me, and it's funny we spoke about this, because I've actually we're doing a 20th anniversary gi for my team, and I have my own logo, and I've altered it. And what I've done is I've put in a few of the values which I hold true to myself and what I believe in. So the values that kind of stuck in my head actually came from Taekwondo, and it was something that you had to learn about and know about. And if I remember rightly, it was courtesy, integrity, perseverance, self-control, and an indomitable spirit.
Ooh.
So so that's the tenets of Taekwondo, the 5 tenets of Taekwondo. So the last 2, self-control, of course, and indomitable spirit. Yeah, that's great, you know. But for me, it's the first 3. So the courtesy, integrity, and perseverance. I do consider myself courteous. I think it's important to be that. But So I didn't put that in. I just put in the perseverance. Integrity.
Yeah.
And perseverance. So I've put that around my logo now, and that does describe my journey pretty much. Perseverance, to be teaching all this time, to be doing martial arts all this time. Yeah. You know, that is a strong thing. You know, it's got me where I am. You know, and integrity, I believe, is really important. You know, integrity is what you do when no one's watching. You know, who you are. And I like to think I've kept that over the years, and it's reflected on my team. I've got great people. You know, these are my friends, my brothers and my sisters that I see every night. So yeah, you have to have that. And it's important in martial arts that you have something behind it. Yeah. It just helps that it pushes you that little bit further. You can be a world champion kickboxer and you're just knocking people out in shows, but I think if you've got that extra bit on top of it, it can really help you with your journey. So that, those things are quite important.
Absolutely. I would say they're ultimately important. For me, they resonate. You know, I absolutely get integrity and I absolutely get perseverance from you. And I just want to say congratulations on 20 years of coaching Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. I think it's incredible. And I know you're going to have an absolutely fantastic year. And we'll be following your socials for your 20th anniversary gi designs. Being a designer, I'll be keeping an eye on that.
Okay, good.
Oh, Colin, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And hopefully, listeners, you've got some value from this. I know I certainly have. And we'll absolutely be following your stories. And hopefully see you at a competition at some point soon. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I hope so. It might even be Barcelona. You never know.
You never know. Colin, thank you.
No, you're very welcome. Thank you very much.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for telling your friends about this show. And to get notified of upcoming guests and special offers, head over to jiu-jitsulou.com. Thanks again for listening. Catch you on the next episode of the Jiu Jitsu Lou podcast.